Hi, everybody, and good afternoon. I'm News 13's Amy Hoyt. We are live in our newsroom on Harrison Avenue, and today, as the 13th, as you know, is our Buddy Check Day, where we remind everyone to check for lumps in their breast, and if you find something, to check with your doctor right away and get that mammogram. Every month, we bring you a different guest to share their story or to bring you information about breast cancer, and today we have a special guest. I'd like to introduce you to her now. Her name is Jennifer Chapple, and she is a Walton County resident, and we are so happy that you drove over to share your journey. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Amy, for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Tell me a little bit about yourself before we get started.
My name again is Jennifer Chapple. I have been, as far as like the work world goes, working for a NASCAR team for almost 22 years. That's pretty much my career journey. And I was, let's see, how do I want to start this journey here? A little bit about myself. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. Went to UAB and moved to Charlotte to follow my career in NASCAR. And 15 years into it, I decided I wanted to move to the Panhandle. It's where I was. My first visit here was when I was 6 years old with my grandmother and also my great aunt, and I fell in love with it and finally moved here about almost nearly a decade ago, actually.
Wow. Well, we're glad to have you. It is obviously a beautiful place to live. We agree with that so much. Well, we're glad you're here, and we want to talk about your journey, of course, with breast cancer, and you were diagnosed just a few years ago.
Actually, I was. It was in 2019. I was going back to Charlotte for a wedding. It was someone that I'd worked with and became really good friends with. His name was A.J. Almendinger. And that day I was going into town, I figured, I need to go and, for my annual checkup with my OBGYN. And as I was there, she was going through my chart and she said, you haven't had your mammogram in almost 2 years. I said, well, there's been this place under my arm that's been sore. Maybe it's just from working out. And she said, you need to go today to get your mammogram done. And I said, well, I don't know if I have time because I have to go to this wedding. Well, she is adamant. And I actually did. And the imaging came back. I got a letter in the mail that said they found something. And so I went for further imaging here in the state of Florida in Fort Walton. And that imaging actually showed that there was a mass there.
But you hadn't felt it yourself up until that point.
Had felt it, did not know of it. The only thing I had going on was just a little soreness under my arm that I thought may have been from just lifting some weights, to be honest.
That's interesting, because that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you feel at that moment? Like, it's got to be a surprise or a shock, at least the feeling.
It was a surprise and a shock, and I think one of the messages that I want to say right now so that I don't forget in this journey of the interview is that, do not put your mammogram off. Be sure to stay on top of that, because what happened to me for skipping the mammogram for almost a year and a half, it landed me, I'm going to go deep here, with 6 months of chemotherapy, a bilateral mastectomy, 6 weeks daily of radiation, breast reconstruction surgery 3 times, and a hysterectomy because I found in the journey that I had the BRCA gene as well.
So tell me about the when they first find the mass. What do they do from there? They automatically start you on chemo? Was that first?
Well, the first thing I did was I went and had the imaging and they found it, right? So the next step was I had a biopsy just to basically confirm what we already knew. And then from there, it was a few weeks later, I started chemotherapy pretty much right away because they felt like it was stage 3, stage 4 breast cancer, and it had spread into my lymph nodes. So they were not going to wait any more time. Like, I had to get started right away.
All right, so you do the chemo for 6 months?
6 months. They started me on what they call AKA the Red Devil, which if I can remember properly, I think it was Cytoxin and Adrian. I forget the technological names for it, but you can only have 4 rounds of it in your lifetime. And I started there, and then from that point, after that 4 weeks, I switched to Taxol. So in total, it was 6 months of chemotherapy. But I will tell you, the days I felt like not getting out of bed, you better believe I got out of bed. I did not change my life. I worked every day. I told myself in the beginning that I was going to keep a PMA, which is a positive mental attitude, through the journey. So,
how did you tell your husband when you found out?
I told him right away, and I was like, you're not going to believe this, but we're about to be in for a very long journey, and I need you to really get on board with me, and we've got to stay positive through this and live our life daily like we were before, because I'm not going to allow this disease to define me, and we're going to get through it. So I think that's what carried me through, and as of today, I am clear, still clear, and doing pretty well, actually.
Well, you look pretty good.
Thank you.
I know sometimes people are, I don't know, you say that, people are like, well, but you do. I mean, you look great. You look like you're back to maybe pre-cancer diagnosis. Yeah? Do you feel that way?
I feel pretty good. I do. With my journey and what took place, I am taking medication for 10 years called tamoxifen. So there are some days where I feel like I'm maybe 90 with some creaks and such with my legs. But other than that, I'm just very blessed. And I honestly believe that it was my mental attitude that helped carry me through this. It was just a huge part of it, to be honest.
And we're looking at some pictures on the screen. I wanted to go back to the dog first, because we talked about, and dogs are the best. Now, your husband was in the picture too, and he's probably a pretty important person. But tell me about the dog. Was it like a therapy dog? You already had the dog.
I did have the dog, Samson, and he was always with me through all of that. So when Robert was at work, I was working at home remotely. I always had Samson to kind of keep me, cheerful throughout the day. And he has needs too, so I had to walk him and feed him and all that fun stuff. So he really kept me going as well. And as far as my husband goes, Robert Brill, he's an amazing man, and he was with me through every step of the journey. And honestly, when I started chemotherapy, they told me in 2 to 3 weeks my hair would start falling out. And as that process began, the first step I did was I cut my hair really short, because I always had long hair. And then my husband actually shaved my head. So that was the moment that I knew that this man really loved me. It was pretty powerful, to be honest.
You had to take it into your own hands.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
so you went ahead and shaved it off in advance.
Sure did. And the first thing I did was I walked into a wig store and bought me a fun wig. So that's kind of how I did that,
Now, after the chemotherapy, is that what was the next step?
The next
radiation?
step, well, they did the chemotherapy first, and then the next step was actually the bilateral mastectomy. So because I had the BRCA gene, I had them both removed, just because if I won at this game of life at this point in time, I didn't want the chance of it reoccurring in my other breast, because I had the BRCA gene. And what that did, or what that is it put me at high risk for breast cancer, which obviously I had it, and high risk for ovarian cancer. So I also had the hysterectomy to make sure that I could stay on this earth a little longer.
At the same time? Like, do you have the breast removed
it was just
and
a
the
journey.
hysterectomy?
Well, that came later in the year.
Okay.
So first the chemotherapy, then the bilateral mastectomy, then the 6 weeks daily of radiation.
Daily?
6 weeks daily. Minus, let me back up, Saturday, Sunday, I got 2 days off.
Right.
And, but still, yeah, it was a lot. And I did that at UAB, at their Proton Beam Center, and as far as like the bilateral mastectomy and everything, I did that at UAB as well. The Kirkland Clinic, outstanding facility. The chemotherapy I did here with Dr. Mann and his office staff. But I will tell you, if you're looking for a place, or if you know someone that's trying to figure out this journey, the Kirkland Clinic, they brought in a team of 5 doctors, from the oncologist to the surgeon to the radiation doctor. Everyone was right there with you in the room together, coming up and formulating a plan to make sure,
Did you have to live up there for the treatment?
I did stay with my dad. My dad lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and I was very fortunate to have family within 11 miles from the hospital. So that was something that I was very grateful for and fortunate to be able to do.
Let's talk a little bit about your family history. There is one for breast cancer, correct?
Yes, there is. And my aunt, which is my dad's sister, had breast cancer. She beat it, and she's still here today. Her name's Phyllis Chapple. Some people may know her as Phyllis from Mulga, kind of a TV personality, but also her daughter had breast cancer. Unlike my Aunt Phyllis, my cousin Tina passed away of breast cancer in her 40s. So knowing that, I still skipped a year. So again, I go back to the mammogram. Don't skip it. because I have had friends that stayed on top of it and were able to detect that they had breast cancer early and didn't have to run the gamut on everything that I did. And so just, your health and you are number one.
Well, I have to ask you this, and I don't mean to get personal, but you look kind of young for worrying about mammograms. Did you get them younger than 40?
No, I'm in my 40s. I'm a little older.
Oh,
I turned 47
you
this
look
year,
younger,
actually.
so there you go.
So, yeah.
Because I thought, why would she be getting a mammogram?
40s, yeah. But yeah, I skipped
So you did start getting them right away. Was it because of the family history?
I think it was because my OBGYN, Dr. Mandy Castor, she was the one that stayed on top of me about that. And the reason I hadn't had my mammograms was I had kind of skipped her too there for a year or so. But she really was the one. And honestly, I look at her as saving my life. And I haven't seen her since that day. And tomorrow I actually have a doctor's visit with her because I'm going to Charlotte for the Bristol Motor Speedway dirt race with the race team. So I'll have the chance to tell her my entire journey in person, and I'm going to try to hold the tears in as I tell her she basically saved my life.
Of course, I'm sure. Now, you're talking about NASCAR, which is cool just in of itself.
It is. It's
but
great.
they supported you as well, because I think we have a picture of the car that they turned pink for you.
They did. Obviously, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and I was on a conference call one day, and they surprised me with the race car being turned pink, which we've done before in the past. And actually, there's someone by the name of Linda O'Connell, a few years prior to me being diagnosed. We had put her name on the race car, where my name is, as you see, to honor her because she had beat breast cancer, and she was a Kroger employee, which is one of our sponsors. So I was able to be there with Linda and honor her, and the team just, put our arms around her because she was a survivor. And ironically enough, here I am a few years later with it, and there's my name on the race car. So I will tell you that our owners, Tad, Jody Geschichter, husband and wife, and Brad Doherty, who was a 5-time NBA All-Star player for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then also Gordon Smith, are incredible team owners because they supported me through the entire journey, and I just couldn't ask for more.
Yeah, support's important from family, of course, but also friends, and your coworkers oftentimes become your family.
Yeah, they do, and and I have one friend I have to mention because if I don't, and then actually two friends, Wendy Belk. Been friends for 30 years. She was really there for me. And then Doris McManus. I hope I just said your last name right.
That's correct. Since she's my best friend too.
I mean, I love her so much, and she really helped me through the chemotherapy journey because I just didn't know, like coming off of the first type of chemo, going into the next one, I didn't know what that looked like, and she helped me give me information.
Right, because she was going through the same experience at the same time. So you met that way.
Absolutely. I was sitting in a chair having chemotherapy administered to me, and I peeped around the corner and could see her and learned that she was ahead of me with her journey. And I'm just very grateful that she shared what she did with me throughout that process.
Are you now, because I see this isn't the first interview you've done about your breast cancer, are you using that sort of as therapy and to help others now moving forward?
I think more so helping others and just spreading the message just to stay on top of your health. You are number one, and it's important. And to listen to your body, that's one of the things. Like for me, for some reason, I didn't have a lot of signs, but I did have one sign with my arm hurting, and I probably should have got that looked into. So just listen to your body. I think that's the biggest part of it. And always go for your checkups and your annual visits. That's really important. And so if anything, that's what I'd like to do, is to just spread that message, because hopefully somebody watching this may say, well, I haven't went for my mammogram, so let me do that now.
Tell me about the radiation. Was that rough on your body?
The radiation, you go in, you lay on a table, and you hear a noise.
Kind of like an MRI.
MRI or a suntan machine or something. And like 10 minutes you're done and you're out. So there for a while I was like, hey, this radiation stuff isn't that bad. But again, it was proton beam, so it's a different type of radiation. And probably near like the last 2 weeks of me getting it, my skin was getting like to where it was really, I guess like a really bad sunburn is the way to describe it. But again, I was very fortunate through the whole journey, and I don't know, I was able to be okay with the chemo, and not a lot of people are that fortunate, but you just, again, I go back to the attitude and trying to push through it.
Right. And you do have a positive attitude. And I can tell just by meeting you that you're probably that kind of a person, probably an upbeat kind of person. In public relations, too. That's how you live your life, because that's who you are. Did your faith play a role in any of this, in your recovery?
Absolutely. I know, like, every time I went in for a surgery, I always had the chaplain come in. So I do believe there's a higher power. And I did have conversations. I said, I have nieces and nephews that are still here that are getting into a lot of trouble. By the way, I'm going to come for you. And I just want to stay here and be here to be like a guiding light for them and to help light their path to, for good. And that's really why I'm still here, to be honest. And my husband, obviously.
Of course. What month were you diagnosed?
Oh, it was in October. It was October at the end of the year, 2019.
Oh, that's right, because it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, of all things.
Of all things, absolutely.
And is there a 5-year time frame they give you once you pass that 5 years?
Yeah, they say 5, but they've got me on medication for 10 years just to kind of try to make sure, and I'm hoping that I stay clear and hoping that I can live out a long life, because it's just really important for me to still be here. I have a lot of work left to do. I'm just getting started, I feel like.
Of course.
Yeah.
And what about, is it a pill that you're taking?
Yep, it's called tamoxifen, and from what I understand, it's an estrogen blocker. And I don't know all the other stuff that goes along with it, but that's what the main function of it is.
Were you surprised at the number of different types of breast cancer there are? Because it becomes like an education. Once you're diagnosed, you start learning all these things, from what I hear from everyone I've met.
I still am confused by it all, to be honest. I'm like, HER2 negative, HER2 positive, so it is a lot. And it's interesting to talk to other people about what they've experienced and what they were diagnosed as. And I really feel like it's a blessing I'm still here, because when they told me, when they started teetering on the word of stage 4, for me, stage 4 means, gosh, you may be 6 feet under the ground, not 6 feet above the ground. So I really fought to not change my life, because I felt like that was a part of why I could stay here, or how I could be here.
And the one thing we do try and stress with Buddy Check is to look for lumps. Don't wait, no matter your age. Just feel around. You're in the shower, because something could change at any given time. Women seem to be getting younger and younger with the breast cancer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for me, I didn't really know that I had a lump there. I didn't necessarily find
something.
It. And I didn't really have any visual. There was nothing visual either, because sometimes they say, your breast could look like an orange, or, things could be different there. I didn't really notice anything. So that goes back to the mammograms.
Right.
Make sure you stay on top of that as well.
It's interesting that it was just a soreness, because, we all feel a little sore. They say, oh, you're wearing the wrong bra, and things can, go down, sag, ladies, this is for the ladies, sorry guys. But seriously, and your muscles are moving around, but you never know what it's from.
I think it's also going back to a higher power, and also going to your intuition. Always listen to your inner voice. If, for some reason, my inner voice was saying, you need to get this checked out. Don't wait another day. Listen to your body, listen to your inner voice, and just pay attention. Yeah, really pay attention.
So where do you go from here? Is it an annual checkup, or every 6 months? I
just literally had a CT scan just a few days ago. So I am constantly, being checked up, probably like every 6 months. And then, I have an annual visit with the UAB Kirkland Clinic with my surgeon and an oncologist there. And I actually have, in a couple weeks, another visit with Dr. Mann here in town. So it's still staying on top of it, but it's easy. It's quick. It's painless.
And the pills that you take keep it from spreading. That's what the hope is for that medication, correct?
It's the hope to block it. Yeah, to keep me in the clear is what the hope is for that medication. Mm-hmm.
And your biggest message today for everyone watching, because we know men get breast cancer too,
though
we tend to direct this to mostly ladies.
Absolutely.
But what's your message?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. Just don't delay. Stay on top of your health. Always listen to what's going on with your body as well. If you think something's not right, have it checked out. And I mean, what is it? An hour of your time? You can fit it in.
It's simple, isn't it?
Yeah.
But we all put it off.
We all do.
I'm just going to fess up now.
You need to go. We all need to go.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. All right, Jennifer, it was so nice to meet you. We appreciate you sharing your story, and hopefully it'll open some eyes today, and we'll all take better care of ourselves.
Thank you so much. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everyone today, and have a great week. Thank you.
All right, and good luck with the NASCAR team.
Thank you.
Your team.
Appreciate it.
Jennifer Chapple is our guest today for our Buddy Check reminder, and we appreciate everybody taking the time to join us on 13 Now. We'll see you next time.